If you've ever been mid-sentence and suddenly lost the words you needed, or you've stared at someone you absolutely know and your brain won't hand you their name, or you've walked into a room and thought, wait, why am I here? And then almost instantly, a colder thought shows up. Is this Alzheimer's? This episode is for you. I'm Kristen Beasley, and you're listening to The Healthy Life Approach. Today, we're going to separate panic from reality, not by diagnosing you, but by giving you a clearer way to understand what's happening in your brain in midlife, why it can feel terrifying, and what early dementia actually looks like compared to menopausal cognitive changes. Let's start with the part most people whisper about, if they say it at all. You're in your late 40s or early 50s, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, and your brain feels different. Not I'm a little tired is different. More like you can't find words, you miss appointments, you reread the same paragraph, and nothing sticks. You're still you, but your mind doesn't feel as reliable as it used to. And in the background, there's this question you don't want to ask out loud. What if this isn't normal? Maybe you watched a parent go through cognitive decline. Maybe Alzheimer's is in your family. Or maybe you did what any anxious human would do and search the internet for early signs of dementia, and suddenly you're reading a checklist that looks uncomfortably familiar. I don't talk about this lightly. My father, Gene Austin, was a NASA engineer, truly brilliant, and he developed Lewy body dementia. I watched a sharp, capable man slowly disappear in front of me. So when my own brain started shifting in midlife, I didn't just feel annoyed or inconvenienced. I felt afraid, deeply afraid. And if that is where you are right now, I want you to know you're not dramatic and you're not alone. Here's what I wish someone had told me sooner. The most common cognitive symptoms women experience in perimenopause and menopause often come from hormonal change, not from brain degeneration. Those are two very different biological processes. Estrogen doesn't only affect hot flashes and cycles, it interacts with the entire brain chemistry network. Estrogen helps regulate neurotransmitters that shape how you think and function day to day, including dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and acetylcholine. Those chemicals are involved in attention, processing speed, memory retrieval, and mental clarity. So when estrogen is fluctuating and then declining, it's not that your brain is breaking, it's that the chemical environment your brain is operating in has changed. Now, layer in two more things that show up in midlife for many women: stress and sleep disruption. Chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated, and that can interfere with the brain regions that handle focus, planning, and memory. And poor sleep doesn't just make you tired. Sleep is when your brain does a lot of cleanup work. When sleep is disrupted, that cleanup system doesn't function well, and the result can look like fog, forgetfulness, and slower thinking. So if you've been thinking, why can't I think the way I used to? The answer may be a perfect storm: shifting hormones, higher stress load, and worse sleep. That combination can feel scary, but it's not the same thing as progressive dementia process. Okay, so how can you tell the difference in real life? What do clinicians actually look for when they're trying to separate menopausal cognitive changes from early dementia? Please understand that these are signs that warrant a conversation with your doctor, not a checklist you use to diagnose yourself or rule anything out. Menopausal cognitive changes usually manifest as difficulties with word retrieval, attention, and working memory. That might mean you can't grab the words you want, but you still know exactly what you're trying to say. You lose your train of thought, but you can often circle back and it returns. You can feel foggy, but you're basically still running your life. You're working, parenting, managing schedules, handling relationships, paying bills, doing the things you normally do, even if you're doing them with more effort and more frustration. Early dementia, on the other hand, tends to look like increasing difficulty doing familiar tasks, confusion in places that should feel automatic, getting lost in routes you've taken 100 times, or having your judgment and reasoning shift in ways that other people notice. Another difference is awareness. With menopause-related changes, women often notice it and are worried about it. With early dementia, it's common for the person to have less insight into how much things are changing, while family members are the ones raising concerns. And here's the simple way to hold the distinction. It's one thing to forget a word while still knowing the concept. It's another thing to forget what the word is for. That gap matters. For most women in their 40s and 50s who are experiencing these scary cognitive symptoms, what's driving it is hormonal change, stress physiology, sleep disruption, and metabolic or inflammatory factors. not neurodegeneration. Now let's move on to what you can do starting today, especially if the fear is keeping you up at night. First, get objective information. Ask for lab work that can reveal common treatable issues that can mimic or amplify cognitive symptoms. That may include talking to your doctor about thyroid labs, fasting insulin, HSCRP as an inflammation marker, vitamin D, ferritin for iron status, and a hormone panel appropriate for where you are in the transition. If something is off there, that's not a moral failing and it's not a mystery illness, it's data. And many of those factors can be improved with the right plan and medical guidance. Second, focus on the foundations that directly support brain function. Sleep matters, stress and cortisol management matter, exercise matters, protein intake matters. These aren't just wellness buzzwords. They influence neurotransmitters, blood sugar stability, inflammation, and your brain's ability to focus and retrieve information. When those foundations improve, many women notice their brain start to come back online. Third, if you're still worried, get assessed rather than spiraling. A cognitive assessment like a neuropsychological evaluation can give you an objective baseline, not a vague, I think I'm fine, but real measurements you can track over time. And if you're someone who wants to be proactive and you're working with a clinician who follows the research, there are also newer tools emerging, including blood biomarkers that can detect Alzheimer's-related changes years before symptoms appear. One example you may hear about is p-tau 217. The point isn't that you need to go chase every new test. The point is this: the more objective data you have, the less room fear has to take over. Now here's the takeaway I want you to keep close. Forgetting your neighbor's name at 50 is not the same thing as Alzheimer's. It feels terrifying because no one taught you the difference, and because midlife brain changes can be real and disruptive. But real doesn't mean degenerative. Your brain may not be declining. It may be adapting to a new hormonal and metabolic environment. And the best part of that sentence is the last word, environment, because an environment can be evaluated, supported, and improved. If this episode gave you even a small exhale of relief, share it with someone. There's almost certainly a woman in your life who is quietly wondering if she's losing her mind. She deserves clarity, not panic. Next week, we're going to go deeper into a question that confuses almost everyone. Is this brain fog or is this memory loss? They sound similar, but they're not, and the difference changes what you do next. Until then, take care of your beautiful brain. Quick disclaimer, I am a health coach, not a licensed medical professional. This podcast is for educational and general information use only and is not medical advice or diagnosis. Talk with your physician or a qualified healthcare provider about your personal situation. Always vet health information carefully, especially before starting any new treatment or supplement. This episode and show notes may include affiliate links, which may earn me a commission at no extra cost to you and help support the show. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases.